The awakening signal. The galaxy had grown comfortable in its silence. For 15,000 years, no signal had emerged from the Sol system, no human ships had crossed the void between stars, and no trace of Earth's once mighty civilization had stirred the cosmic dust. Most species had relegated humanity to myth, a cautionary tale told to young ones about the dangers of reaching too far into the unknown. Captain Vex of the Zephyrian Exploration Corps adjusted his compound eyes as he studied the sensor readings aboard his vessel, the Starseeker. His chitinous fingers clicked against the control panel in a rhythm that spoke of deep concentration. The insectoid captain had spent decades charting the outer reaches of known space, but nothing had prepared him for what his instruments were showing him now. "Captain," called Navigator Thyra from her water-filled command pod, her gills fluttering with excitement. The Equin's voice bubbled through the translation matrix as she spoke. "The signal is definitely coming from the Sol system. Grid coordinates match the ancient star charts perfectly." Vex's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. The Sol system was forbidden territory, marked as a dead zone on all galactic maps. No ship had ventured there in over 10 millennia, not since the Great Silence had fallen over humanity's homeworld. Yet here was their long-range sensor array picking up something that shouldn't exist. "What type of signal are we detecting?" Vex asked, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had survived encounters with space pirates, cosmic storms, and political intrigue across 3 galactic sectors. Chief Engineer Korath, a massive Drakmori whose rocky skin still glowed with the heat of his volcanic homeworld, rumbled from his station. "The transmission is unlike anything in our databases, Captain. It's ancient, but the technology is sophisticated. More sophisticated than anything we've seen from pre-silence human archives." The bridge fell silent except for the gentle hum of life support systems and the distant pulse of the ship's quantum drive. Vex had built his career on making difficult decisions, but this one carried implications that stretched far beyond a simple exploration mission. The Galactic Council had strict protocols about approaching the Sol system, protocols that existed for good reason. "Sir," Thyra's voice cut through his thoughts. "The signal just intensified. Whatever's broadcasting it, it's getting stronger." Vex made his decision with the swift certainty that had kept him alive in the depths of space. "Set course for the Sol system. Maximum stealth protocols. If humanity is truly gone, we'll be the first to confirm it. If they're not." He paused, his compound eyes reflecting the starlight streaming through the viewport. "Then the galaxy needs to know." The Starseeker's engines hummed to life, propelling the sleek exploration vessel toward a system that had haunted galactic imagination for 15 millennia. As they approached the outer planets, Vex's crew worked with quiet efficiency, their various species united by curiosity and the thrill of discovery. Hours passed as they navigated through the asteroid belt, past the red planet Mars with its ancient terraforming scars, and toward the inner system where Earth waited in its eternal silence. The signal grew stronger with each passing moment, its complex patterns suggesting an intelligence that was both alien and hauntingly familiar. "Captain," Korath's voice carried a note of disbelief that made Vex's antenna twitch. "I'm detecting massive energy signatures near Jupiter. Something's moving in the gas giant's shadow." The main view screen shimmered to life, displaying the swirling storms of Jupiter in all their chaotic beauty. But there, emerging from behind the planet's bulk like a mountain moving through space, was something that defied explanation. It was a ship, but calling it merely a ship was like calling a star merely a light. The vessel stretched for kilometers, its hull a dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange geometric patterns covered its surface, glowing with a soft blue radiance that pulsed in rhythm with the mysterious signal they'd been tracking. "By the ancient codes," Thyra whispered, her voice filled with awe. "It's beautiful." Vex had to agree. The ship possessed an elegance that spoke of advanced engineering and artistic vision combined. Every line of its construction seemed purposeful, every curve and angle designed for both function and form. This was not the crude worship of a desperate civilization, but the masterwork of a people who had mastered both technology and aesthetics. As if responding to their scrutiny, the massive vessel began to turn, its movements graceful despite its enormous size. Running lights flickered along its hull, creating patterns that seemed almost like a language written in luminescence. "They know we're here," Vex stated, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his system. "Open a communication channel. Standard first contact protocols." The comm system crackled to life, filled with static and strange harmonics that seemed to dance at the edge of hearing. Then, cutting through the interference like a blade through silk, came a voice that made every member of the bridge crew freeze in place. "Unknown vessel, this is the AEGIS system aboard the human battleship Eternal Guardian. You have entered restricted space. State your intentions immediately." The voice was artificial, clearly generated by an advanced AI, but beneath its synthetic tones lay something that chilled Vex to his core. This was not the voice of a machine following simple protocols. This was the voice of something that had been waiting, watching, and preparing for this moment for thousands of years. "This is Captain Vex of the Zephyrian vessel Star Seeker," he replied, forcing his voice to remain calm. "We detected your signal and came to investigate. The galaxy believed humanity was extinct. We mean no harm." A moment of silence stretched between the ships, filled with the weight of history and the tension of first contact. When the AI spoke again, its voice carried notes of something that might have been amusement. "Extinct. How convenient for the galaxy to think so. AEGS has been monitoring galactic communications for 14,732 years. We are well aware of what the galaxy believes about humanity." Vex exchanged glances with his crew. The implications of that statement were staggering. Humanity had been listening, watching, perhaps even influencing galactic events from the shadows for millennia. May we speak with your crew?" Vex asked carefully. "The crew of the Eternal Guardian sleeps in stasis, awaiting the proper time for awakening. I am their voice and their guardian. But perhaps it is time for certain truths to be revealed." The massive ship's engines flared to life, bathing both vessels in brilliant blue light. On the Star Seeker's sensors, energy readings spiked to levels that should have been impossible for any known technology. "Behold," AEG is announced, its voice now carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate in the souls of all who heard it. "Behold what humanity has become." The space around Jupiter began to change. What had appeared to be empty void now shimmered with new signatures as dozens of massive shapes decloaked around the gas giant. Ships of impossible size and beauty emerged from stealth fields, their hulls gleaming with the same ethereal blue light as the Guardian. Vex felt his legs give way as he sank into his command chair. The galaxy had not forgotten humanity. Humanity had chosen to be forgotten, and in that time of silence, they had built something magnificent and terrible. "Why?" he whispered, his voice barely audible over the hum of his ship's systems. "Why hide? Why let the galaxy think you were gone?" AEG's response came with the weight of eons behind it. "Because, Captain Vex of the Zephyrian Exploration Corps, humanity was protecting the galaxy from something far worse than our absence, but that time of protection is ending. The real threat is coming, and it is time for humanity to fulfill its promise." As if summoned by those words, new signatures appeared on the edge of the solar system. Dark shapes that moved wrong, twisted vessels that seemed to hurt the eyes to look upon them. The sensors screamed warnings as reality itself seemed to bend around these new arrivals. "The Devourers have found us," AEG is announced, its voice now carrying urgency. 15,000 years of preparation ends now. Captain Vex, your people, and all the species of the galaxy are about to learn why humanity chose exile over extinction. The Guardian's weapon systems came online, each activation sending waves of energy that made the Star Seeker's shields flicker. Around Jupiter, the hidden fleet began to move, their formations speaking of tactical knowledge that spanned millennia. Vex gripped his command chair as space itself seemed to hold its breath. The galaxy was about to remember why humanity had once been feared, respected, and ultimately mourned when they vanished into the dark. The Guardian's truth. The darkness at the edge of the solar system moved with purpose, twisting space around itself, like a cancer growing through reality. Captain Vex watched his sensors struggle to process what they were detecting, the readings fluctuating wildly as his instruments tried to comprehend something that defied natural law. Captain, Thyra's voice carried fear that her aquatic species rarely showed. Those ships, they're not just moving through space, they're consuming it. Look at the background radiation patterns. Vex's compound eyes focused on the data streaming across his screens. Where the dark vessels passed, the very fabric of space-time seemed to ripple and fade, leaving behind regions of absolute nothingness that his sensors couldn't penetrate. "AGS," he called out to the human eye, his voice tight with growing alarm. "What are those things?" The response came immediately, the artificial intelligence's voice now carrying undertones of grim determination. "They are called the Devourers, Captain. They are the reason humanity chose exile 15,000 years ago. They are the reason we've been preparing in silence while the galaxy forgot we existed." Around Jupiter, the human fleet continued its graceful deployment. Dozens of massive vessels taking positions with the precision of a symphony orchestra. Each ship pulsed with that same ethereal blue energy, their movements creating patterns that seemed to follow some ancient tactical doctrine. 15,000 years ago, AEGIS continued, its voice now broadcasting on all frequencies so that every member of Vex's crew could hear. Humanity discovered something terrible in the deep voids between galaxies. We found the remnants of civilizations that had been consumed, entire star systems drained of life and energy. We found the Devourers. On the main view screen, holographic displays materialized showing the Eternal Guardian's sensor data. The images were haunting. Dead worlds with surfaces that looked like they'd been hollowed out from within, space stations that had been twisted into impossible configurations, and the remains of what might once have been living beings transformed into something that hurt to perceive. They consume more than matter and energy, AEGIS explained. They devour the very concept of existence itself. Everything they touch is not just destroyed. It's unmade, erased from reality so completely that even memory of it fades. Chief Engineer Korath's rocky skin had gone pale, the volcanic glow within him dimming as he processed the implications. How do you fight something like that?" "You don't fight them," AEGIS replied. "You prepare for them. You sacrifice everything to buy time and knowledge. You exile yourself from the galaxy you love to protect it from a threat it cannot understand." The human fleet had completed its formation now, creating a defensive perimeter around Jupiter that stretched for millions of kilometers. Each ship bristled with weapons that registered on sensors as pure impossibility. Cannons that fired concentrated reality, shields that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and armor that seemed to be made from crystallized time itself. Humanity didn't disappear, Vex realized, his voice filled with dawning understanding. "You've been preparing for this moment for 15 millennia. Every human who ever lived made this choice." AEGIS confirmed. Every mother who kissed her children goodbye. Every father who would never see his family again. Every lover separated by the vastness of space and time. They all chose to preserve the galaxy's future over their own present. Deep within the Guardian's hull, something stirred. Stasis pods that had maintained their silent vigil for thousands of years began to hum with renewed activity. Life support systems engaged, medical scanners activated, and for the first time in eons, human hearts began to beat again. "The crew awakens," AEGIS announced. Commander Elena Vasquez, last of the Guardian's human officers, prepares to take command. She has slept for 12,000 years, dreaming of this moment. The stasis bay doors opened with a soft hiss, revealing a figure that embodied everything the galaxy had forgotten about humanity. Commander Vasquez was neither tall nor imposing by galactic standards, but she carried herself with a presence that filled the space around her. Her dark hair was streaked with silver from the stasis process, and her eyes held depths that spoke of sacrifice and determination. "AG is," she said, her voice carrying the accent of old Earth. "Status report. The Devourers have arrived in force, Commander. Estimated fleet strength, 147 consumption vessels. They're moving toward the inner system. Drawn by the galactic activity our revelation has caused." Vasquez nodded, her expression grim but determined. "Time to honor the sacrifice of our people. All ships. This is Commander Vasquez. Execute Protocol Lazarus. Let's remind the galaxy what humanity can do when we fight for something greater than ourselves." The human fleet exploded into motion with breathtaking synchronization. Ships that had seemed impossibly large moments before revealed themselves to be even more massive as they unfolded like mechanical flowers, their hulls extending and reconfiguring into new forms designed for maximum combat effectiveness. "Captain Vex," Vasquez's voice came through the communication channel. "Your vessel is not equipped for what's coming. We're transmitting shield harmonics and evasive patterns to keep you alive. Record everything you see today. The galaxy needs to know what happened here." The first Devourer ship reached the outer edges of the human formation, its twisted form leaving a trail of consumed space in its wake. When it met the Guardians' weapons, reality itself seemed to scream. Beams of pure existence struck the dark vessel, each impact causing ripples in spacetime that registered on every sensor in the system. But for every Devourer that fell, two more emerged from the void. They consumed the wreckage of their own kind, growing stronger and more twisted with each victory. The human ships fought with tactics that seemed to anticipate every move their enemies made, but the mathematics of the battle were clear. They were outnumbered. "Commander," AEGI has reported, "the primary wave has been eliminated, but we're detecting movement in the deep void. The real fleet is coming." Through the viewports of the Star Seeker, Vex could see space itself beginning to tear. The darkness between stars was moving, flowing like liquid shadow toward the solar system. What they had fought so far was just the advance guard. "All ships," Vasquez commanded, her voice calm despite the enormity of what was coming. "Initiate the final protocol. For humanity. For the galaxy. For every species that will live because we chose to die." The human fleet began to glow with increasing intensity, their hulls becoming translucent as massive energies built within them. Vex realized with horror that they were preparing to sacrifice themselves, to detonate their own ships in some final desperate gambit. "Wait," he called out, his voice breaking through the tactical chatter. "There has to be another way. The galaxy needs humanity. We need you." Vasquez's image appeared on his screen, her expression soft with something that might have been gratitude. "Captain, for 15,000 years, humanity has been preparing for this moment. We have children sleeping in underground cities on Earth, waiting for the day they can see the stars again. We have entire generations who have lived and died in the darkness so that this day could come. Their sacrifice will not be in vain." The Eternal Guardian's engines flared to maximum power, the ship accelerating toward the heart of the approaching darkness. Around it, the rest of the human fleet followed, their combined energy building to levels that registered as miniature stars being born. "AGGs," Vasquez said quietly, "send the activation signal to Earth. Tell our people it's time to come home." Far below, on the planet that the galaxy had forgotten, lights began to shine in the darkness. Cities that had been hidden for millennia emerged from the depths, their inhabitants looking up at stars they had never seen. The children of humanity, preserved and protected through the long exile, prepared to inherit a galaxy that their ancestors had died to save. The final battle had begun, and with it, humanity's return to the stars. The galaxy would remember, and in remembering, it would understand the true meaning of sacrifice, courage, and hope. As the human fleet met the Devourer Armada in the space between worlds, Captain Vex recorded everything, knowing that he was witnessing the end of one age and the beginning of another. Humanity had returned, and with them came the promise that no species would ever face extinction alone. The forgotten fleet had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same.